sea last night too with it, you said?
Yeah.
Out across the lake called Dundee. Ben?
Our Heavenly Father, we pause to give Thee thanks for the occasion that brings us together. A half a century of service to our young people. A half a century of leading and training boys and girls to become men and women. We thank Thee for the opportunity that has been ours and also for the privilege of being their leaders, their parents, and those who are concerned. And so this day, as we join together in this Golden Jubilee, we ask Thy blessing upon all the proceedings, upon all those who have taken part, upon all those who are responsible. And this we ask in Thy name. Amen.
Hi, my name is Stephen Wheeler, and I'd like to welcome you today to the rededication ceremonies of Camp Babcock-Hovey. The only wish that I'd have is that the weather would cooperate a little bit better, but I believe nothing could dampen our spirits during the celebrations here today. With great foresight, Babcock-Hovey was opened over 50 years ago as a scout camp where kids and scouts and leaders could come in advance and also learn about nature around them. With the formation of the 50th Anniversary Committee, we have planned and held many events throughout the year, staff alumni dinners, get-togethers. We've planned and prepared a booklet which you can purchase later. I believe many of you have, that deals with the development of Camp Babcock-Hovey over the ages, right from 1937 when the property was purchased, right up to today when when the health lodge was dedicated across the creek. And finally, the best and biggest, definitely being part of the 50th anniversary ceremonies here today, and definitely with the rededication ceremonies. I'd like to introduce now Ann Peck, Vice President of the Council, in terms of program, with her remarks. Thank you.
I'd like to welcome you all on behalf of the Council Executive Board and the Council President, Robert Doctor, to Camp Babcock-Hovey for our 50th Anniversary Rededication Ceremony. Since its beginnings, many changes have been made to the camp, such as Hovey Lodge, the Dining Hall, Penyan Lodge. We've seen the development of the lean-to site, the bridge over the gorge, Peterson Lodge, Shenandoah Shelter, and pool, and just this past year, the new Health Lodge. And I imagine there'll be many more changes and additions in the next 50 years. There is a constant effort to continue the development and the upgrading of the camp. Facilities are only part of this camp. The reason for this camp is to provide program opportunities for young people like those of you here today. Over 50,000 young people have attended this camp in the past 50 years. Many of them today are judges, lawyers, mayors, doctors, teachers, etc. The program offered here at camp provides you boys with many opportunities to learn and grow through scout activities and merit badge work. I happen to be the mother of 4 scouts, all of whom attended Babcock-Hovey. When we were discussing about what I was going to talk about today, 2 of my sons pointed out what Babcock-Hovey has done for them and what they get out of Babcock-Hovey. They told me it's a place where they come to make new friends. One of them told me that he gets a special feeling of accomplishment from learning new scout crafts and earning new merit badges. He said that he gets the feeling of, wow, I did something I didn't think I could do. But most importantly, both of them said they come here to have fun. I hope all of you boys and the boys in the future will have the same opportunities. As we rededicate this camp, I feel we are rededicating it to provide opportunities to young men to learn, grow, and have fun. Thank you.
Thanks, Ann. The program that you have, of course, is a suggested guide printed 2 days ago. A lot of things have happened the past couple of days. Those of you who know me know that's more than a little funny. Next up, because he has another engagement a little later in the afternoon in Rochester and he can't just teleport himself there, we're very happy that Representative Frank Horton from the 29th Congressional District, and a very familiar face to many Scouters, is with us to help us celebrate. I've seen Congressman Horton at probably hundreds of Eagle presentations and Scout shows and different events over the course of my 20-some years of involvement. And I think that we're real happy to have him here to lend his expert comments to us. Thank you, Congressman Horton.
Thank you very much, Admiral. Honored guests, Supervisor Larry Wilkins and Assemblyman Frank Tolomei, Scouters, Scouts, friends, family. It's a pleasure to be with you on this hill, looking up at that American flag, and coming to this camp which was established 50 years ago. I have something in common with the camp. 50 years ago, I was graduated from high school. As a matter of fact, this August, I went back to the 50th reunion of my high school class. And it was very emotional. It was from Baton Rouge High School in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is a long way from here. And I won't tell you now how I got to Rochester and ultimately to be your congressman, but it's an interesting story. I've always been very much interested in scouting, and I want to congratulate those who founded and those who've made it possible and those who are continuing to make possible this wonderful scouting facility. The other day I was with a colleague of mine, a congressman from Utah. His wife was alongside him in this receiving line, and she had 3 Eagle badges on. They have 3 sons who are Eagles. I think one of the most wonderful things for you young people is to be able to accomplish the advances in scouting and get to be an Eagle Scout. Many of you are going to enjoy this camp. Many of you are going to come back to help as others have done. Don't let the rain bother you. It's just a little wetness. It won't hurt. But I do want to join with you in rededicating this beautiful facility and this wonderful facility. This is a great day for a campfire. I'm sure you'll have one later on. I was in scouting. I didn't get to be an Eagle. I got to be a Star Scout. But I've had a great admiration for the scouting program and what it's done for our young people. To the Scouts, you have an opportunity to learn. You have an opportunity to be on a team. You have an opportunity to advance. And I tell you this, every one of those young men and people who have been able to achieve Eagle Scouting are people that are very distinguished, and many of them today are in the halls of Congress, governors, doctors, lawyers, and are making a tremendous contribution to their area. I thought that because of this special occasion, I would present a flag to the camp, and I'd like to ask Admiral Lord, as one of the co-chairmen, if he would come up and let me present to him this American flag. This flag was flown over our nation's capital on a very special day. It was September 17, 1987. That was the date on which the Constitution was signed 200 years ago. This is our 200th anniversary of the signing of the Constitution. I serve in the 100th Congress, which is the 200th year of the Congress of the United States. And so it gives me a great deal of pleasure, Admiral, to present to you and through you to the Scouts and Scouters here this American flag which was flown over our nation's capital on the day that our Constitution was signed 200 years ago. Congratulations. I am sorry I have to leave, and it's not because of the rain. I'd love to stay for the entire program. But I do have to get back to Rochester. I have a plane to catch around 5 o'clock out of Rochester to go back to Washington. So it's a pleasure to be with you. Congratulations on your 50th anniversary. And I know that you boys are going to enjoy the camp experience that you have here as you've already done. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
At my earliest opportunity, we will put the flag in our camp museum, another part of our 50th anniversary celebration, with an appropriate circumstances behind its presentation for those who come in the future to see. One of the things that makes this such a wonderful occasion is the fact that we get a chance to renew old scouting friendships. We have made a lot of them over the 50 years of camp, and when I say we, I talk about those who were on the camping committee from way back from the original ideas of Babcock-Hovey in 1937 gone up to now. One of the friendships that we've been able to rekindle as we were heading up to the 50th anniversary is with the family of Harry Hovey, who was one of the original Babcock and Hovey that donated the facility. We're very pleased to have Bill Whitwell with us, and he is Harry Hovey's grandson, and he's still a resident of our Finger Lakes area, and we're delighted to have him, and he's got a few things to say to us. So, Bill?
Thank you. I've come here today as a representative of the entire Hovey family to express our gratitude for all that you have done for Scouts over the past 50 years. But before I address this, I would just like to say a few words to the younger people here in the audience. I was looking through one of your brochures earlier this week, and I was noticing all of the events that you've got listed here: canoeing, fishing, athletics, basketry. And according to the top of this, you've got over 40 merit badges as well as 21 skill awards. That's quite outstanding. But of all these items, when I first looked through it, I thought the most important was left off the list. And that's learning how to care about each other and your fellow Scouts. By this I'm talking about maybe when you wake up in the middle of the night to help take one of your friends to the nurse, or maybe one of your friends is a little bit homesick, and you just sit there and you just simply talk to them. Then I realized I was wrong. I said, it wasn't off the list. It didn't have to be on the list, because that's what scouting is all about. Caring is what scouting is all about. Learning about how to truly care about what other people's wants and needs are, and maybe even what their dreams might be. Of all the things that you will learn at this camp, I feel that none can compare with that thing that will change you into a better person: the ability to care. For if you really think about it, if neighbors just cared a little bit more about what their other neighbors thought, cities would be a much better place. And if countries cared a little bit more, there wouldn't be any wars. Now to the people in charge of the camp administration, the staff, the counselors, both past and present. I would like to express our family's thanks for all you have done over the past 50 years here at Babcock-Hovey. I'm ashamed to say that I've been very remiss in my attention to the camp. I live in Geneva, and it's been more years than I'd like to admit since I've been down here. As a matter of fact, the last time I was here, they dedicated the pool. Well, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, it was only... This is an attitude, I promise. I will work. That has ended today. I know that my grandfather and Mr. Babcock would be very proud of what you all have accomplished, because I know that I am. I regretfully never knew my grandfather. He died a month before I was born. But throughout my life, I've heard nothing but good stories about him. And over the years, I feel somehow I've gotten to know him. And by being invited here today, I would personally like to thank you for giving me visible proof that all I have heard is true. It's been 50 years. It's 50 years later, and my grandparents are gone, but also all of their 6 children. So I stand here as a third-generation Hovey to thank you not only for keeping alive my grandfather's memory, but also for practicing what you preach, caring. Thank you very much.
Bill Stovey is going to lead us in song.
Let's go, all right. Okay, for those of you that were at Scout Camp, you may remember a song called Wadliacha. We're going to give it a try. Is everyone ready?
No!
Is everyone ready?
No!
Let's go! You can catch on as we get going. It goes like this. Wadliacha, Wadliacha, doodly-doo, doodly-doo. Wadliacha, Wadliacha, doodly-doo, doodly-doo. Some folks say there ain't nothing to it. All you gotta do is doodly-doo it. I love it so, wherever I go, it's doodly-doodly-doo. Hey! All right, everyone, are you ready?
No!
There we go. Get your hands up. Come on, here we go. Ready? Here we go, ready? Wadliacha, Wadliacha, doodly-doo, doodly-doo. Wadliacha, Wadliacha, doodly-doo, doodly-doo. Some folks say there ain't nothing to it. All you gotta do is doodly-doo it. I love it so, wherever I go, it's doodly-doodly-doo. Hey!
Okay, next we're very happy to have with us one of our very good neighbors. I know this gentleman by seeing him in town here in Ovid and seeing him in camp, giving a hand whenever he can. And this all comes from the fact that he really appreciates being neighborly. So in the interest of being neighborly, we're proud to have the supervisor of the town of Ovid, Mr. Larry Wilkins, here with us.
I'm pleased to be here with such a good crowd. I was a scout good many years ago, back in the 30s, and I went to Camp Barton over near Ithaca, New York. I was in my teens back then, and I remember what a good job it did for me by going to that camp for 2 weeks. I happen to remember at that time I wasn't too bright. Some of the older guys took it upon to me to tell me to go down to the flagpole and get the key to put the flag up. I was dumbfounded. I went down and looked for the key and I couldn't find it. Then I went back and I said, I can't find it. They said, you don't have to have a key. So I remember scouting way back, quite a century back. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I think this camp has progressed quite a ways in the last 50 years. I remember coming down here when Mr. Brown was in charge of the camp. He's gone. He lives down the road a little ways from here. He was a good scout camper, taking care of the camp. Then along come Dick Becker. He has been as good or better. I try to help Dick anytime we can. The town tries to help Dick when they have time. We have a lot of roads to repair. But I helped Dick here quite a while back, push snow, get trailers in and out of the mud, and I think that this camp is one of the best in the area. And I would like to see it continue. And any time the town of Ovid can help them, when we don't have work we have to do, we will be along and help the camp out. And I think these people here today represent quite a generation, from young to old and right down the line. And I hope and pray that it continue to grow like it has. Thank you.
Next, we're very happy to have a Hovey veteran with us. A Hovey veteran that has brought his troop down here. He was saying about 20 years ago from Geneva, and I believe that troop is still here today and is here today. But this man used to be a scoutmaster, and he is now the assemblyman from the 129th Assembly District here in the area, Mr. Frank Talomi.
Thank you, Admiral Lord. Reverend Isbro, Nancy and Bill, distinguished guests at the dais, ladies and gentlemen, fellow Scouters. Phil, I'm going to tell you a story about your grandfather that you didn't know.
Do I want to hear this?
Yes, you do. Over 50 years ago, Phil's grandfather, Harry Hovey, was a benefactor to the Boy Scouts Troop 12 in Geneva, which was the Market Basket Troop 12. And the members of that scout troop could volunteer to earn the money to buy their uniforms. I was one of those scouts, and I did volunteer. I was paid 25 cents an hour for mowing lawns and raking leaves up at the Hovey Estate, which is now the American Legion on Laughlin Road. Once we earned $8, and the records were kept, so when you earned $8, you received a credit slip. And with that credit slip, you went down to the Baker and Stark store, which was the official Boy Scout uniform store in Geneva. It was on Exchange Street, and they gave you a Boy Scout uniform. It cost $8 for a Boy Scout uniform back, and that's 54 years ago. So, Bill, you didn't know this about your dad, or your granddad. But I think more than that, I remember being a scoutmaster here and bringing Troop 7 here for weekends during the winter time and sleeping out in the lean-tos. And I'm sure you have some pretty fond memories of those yourself, those of you that spent winter days here. We had to have the snow plow in. That was before Larry was supervisor. We had to have the snow plow in to plow the road so we could get in and out. I think that the words that were said by Ann Peck and Congressman Frank Horton are very, very true. In my experiences in political life, I find that many of my colleagues and people that I respect point to their service as Boy Scouts, and my wife and I worked in the Girl Scouts too. And I think this is a character building that stays with you for the rest of your life. In 1960, when I was Scoutmaster, I attended a jamboree. And 1960 was special in Scouting too. It was the 50th anniversary of Boy Scouting. And at that time, I was given a commemorative coin, which I've carried with me every day since then. It has the Scout Oath and the Scout Law on it. And I think we could do worse than living by this the rest of our lives. It's a privilege and a pleasure for me to be here to help commemorate the 50th anniversary of this Boy Scout camp. And I know that in the next 50 years, we'll make some additional progress, and I think probably Bill and Nancy will be here to commemorate the 100th anniversary. Thank you.
Next, our neighbors to the south in Boy Scouting, Jajuka Lodge number 477 of the Order of the Arrow from Ithaca, have set a presentation to us with their special courier and Hovey veteran, Mr. Don Warden. So, Don? says Camp Babcock-Hovey's Golden Jubilee. The Brothers of Jujuka Lodge 477 wish to thank the Guinea-Odeo Lodge 417 for taking part in our Order of the Arrow tap-out ceremonies, the exchange of information, the honest fellowship, and cheerful service in 1987. We wish all the scouters and friends of Scouting and the Finger Lakes Council hearty congratulations during your Golden Jubilee year. Yours in Brotherhood, signed by Lynn Lake, the Northeast Section 2D Chief of the Order of the Arrow, and Don Warden, the Jujuka Lodge Vigil Advisor. We want to thank them for that. That also will be next door in the museum. As we were preparing this, we spent a lot of time digging into the history of the camp, learning about Mr. Babcock, Mr. Hovey, Mr. Gould, who was council president, Mr. Weert, whose sundial sits in the middle of the field out here, who was camp development chairman, Mr. Lapham, who was very instrumental in the council at that time, and many others. As we were going along, though, we wanted to find out, we wanted to also present the current idea of scouting. Our next speaker has been a friend of mine for about 3 years. The 3 years before that, he worked for me as a camp staff member here. And I saw him grow up in scouting from an unsure, overzealous, relatively, I won't say unskilled, but raw-skilled counselor in training, to where this summer I was able to observe that he was a very sure and confident, still as energetic, and very highly skilled and intelligent young man. Having one of the more recent scouting memories here at Babcock-Hovey, we thought it was really important to hear from him. So I'd like to introduce Mark Schott from Troop 88 in Seneca Falls. You know him as Jethro, I think.
Thank you very much. And he introduced me as Mark Shaw, but most of you know me as Jethro Bodine, but Mark Shaw is my real name. So now you know. Okay, I was asked to talk to you on what it was like to be a camper here at Babcock-Hovey, my view. I was a camper here for 2 years, and as of now, I've been on staff for 4 years now. And I had to really think back and to remember the first time I came here, and that was in 1981. Not that long ago to you, but to me, that's a long time ago. I expected a lot out of summer camp. I think first and foremost that Babcock-Hovey gave my parents a week of relaxation. They loved it. Another reason Babcock-Hovey was so appealing to me is that it gave me the opportunity to be with my friends for a whole entire week. I was just planning the ways we could get into trouble. To this very day, I still wonder how my scoutmaster, Mr. Brink from Troop 88, even kept his sanity and didn't go bananas after a week with us. When I first arrived at Camp Babcock-Hovey, it was a completely new experience for me. Sleeping in tents, in the rain, being a waiter, cleaning up, and learning the various legends of the camp. All of these new and interesting things totally fascinated me. I remember one year I was thinking about life-saving merit badge. I wasn't too sure about it because it was a really tough merit badge. And back then, Mr. Bill Bergamo was teaching it. Mr. Bill, as he was known back then. He called me a puppy. And I go, I've got to save my pride. I can't take this. So I took up his puppy bet and got life-saving in flying colors. The sense of accomplishment that I felt from doing that merit badge and earning life-saving made me feel very good. And this is how I felt I got the Hovey spirit. And it really made me feel really good inside and all around. And some of the funniest things in my life have also happened here while I was at Babcock-Hovey. My first year here, I remember distinctly losing my first pair of underpants. I still, to this day, have no idea where they went.
I looked high and low, and I still can't find him. No. One thing that was really big, coming here the first week as a Boy Scout, was the first night. Had to stay up the whole night, raise a lot of cane, do a lot of fun things. Well, Mr. Brink, my scoutmaster, he wasn't there then. They had this other guy, a proxy, I guess, the troop committee. His name was Mr. Bergamo, Mr. Bill's father. And it was like 2 o'clock in the morning when we finally decided, or he had finally decided that it was enough for him. He couldn't take it anymore. So, Mr. Prepared Boy Scout, Mr. Bergamo, got out his Dixie cups. And we single-handedly, myself and 3 other scouts, emptied a 55-gallon water barrel with Dixie cups. And that's not half of it. We had to fill it up with Dixie cups, too. It was so ridiculous. I think we finally finished at 7:30, just in time for breakfast. I also recall the infamous goat, Billy Goat, quite clearly. I always heard as a scout that he was always, people were trying to challenge him. Like, I bet I can shoot better than you. I bet my hair. Well, I never thought back then that I would be challenging him myself for my hair. I learned my lesson, though. I lost. Fate is strange in some ways, I guess. Another bonus about camp, as people were saying that came before me, that there's so many things to do. Sailing, canoeing, boating, archery, knots, handicrafts, rifle range, the shotgun range when they used to have it, first aid, nature, so many things. Swimming, sailing, and canoeing again. The important things in life. The list goes on and on. These are just some of the many things that there are to do, and that's just a little bit of the things. But if I wanted to do something else, I remember if I just wanted to take a walk, be by myself, take the owl trail, go along the ravines, but not in them, remember. As long as I stayed out of them, I was fine. But you could be alone and you could enjoy nature because it's isolated. The lake is beautiful. You could watch the sunset and the sunrise. Babcock-Hovey offers just a totally different view of scouting in general, I think, because the summer camp experience, it's different than the weekly meetings. It's different than a typical monthly camp out. It's exhilarating. It's a chance to experience scouting from people who want to share it with you. Your leaders are there, and the staff, bananas that they are. They'll teach you the skills and the knowledge and share with you the scouting experiences that they have. And it's the knowledge and the skills that they teach that last a lifetime. It could be a simple skill such as learning how to tie a bowline, or a common sense skill like stay with your boat when it capsizes. Simple things like this have saved my life many times, or at least made it a lot easier. A lot of things you can't learn elsewhere in scouting you can learn here from a summer camp experience. And Babcock-Hovey provides this experience. All of these things that I've mentioned are just a fraction of the whole being of Babcock-Hovey. The best part of Babcock-Hovey that I like when I was young as a tenderfoot and now as an Eagle Scout is that it's the Hovey spirit. It's here. It's with the scouts when they leave. As a staff member, I could see kids that came into camp, well, I don't know, I don't know what I'm going to do. They were puffing out and all this stuff. And it's just like you could motivate the kids. And I could see it in young scouts. And